Good morning. Today's topic is unsupervised version of deep learning. We will be discussing about Hopfield networks, Boltzmann machines, and deep belief networks. Just an overview of all these networks. So let's begin with Hopfield networks. Hopfield networks are fully connected networks, uh, fully connected graphs of neurons. Here, every neuron is connected with every other neuron. So that's what the meaning of fully connected. The training in this network is based on Hebb's rule. Like in the training phase, the network will be developing or identifying the weights between neurons. Each neuron is connected. Every neuron is connected with every other neuron. So the weights between the connection need to be identified. So the weights will be increased if the corresponding pixels, in case of images, if the corresponding pixels are both on or off uh, the corresponding pixels are both on, then weight will be increased. If they are off, then also increase. The weights will be decreased if the corresponding pixels are different. Hopfield networks work only with binary data. There is an energy function associated with Hopfield networks. The training algorithm works in such a way that the energy function decreases once if it identifies or if it develops the weights for a particular pattern. The network then stabilizes at one of the lowest energy configurations. So a energy function will work something like a loss function. Hopfield networks can be viewed as some kind of an associative memory network also. When a Hopfield network is trained with some patterns, it is like some of the trained patterns are stored in a memory, and whenever it sees a new pattern, it will give you the closest pattern which is stored in its associative memory. So it's one of the simplest unsupervised deep learning network. So coming to Boltzmann machines are also fully connected networks like Hopfield network, but in connections they use stochastic connection. So the connections as well as the neurons are stochastic here. So instead of deterministic neurons like Hopfield network, they use stochastic neurons. Not only neurons, they use the step function or the connections also are stochastic. So the neurons will output a 1 with some probability or 0. The stochastic neurons use probability function based on Boltzmann distribution, and that's why the name Boltzmann machines. So usually because it is using stochastic neurons and stochastic step function, Boltzmann machines will not be going to stabilize into a fixed configuration like Hopfield network. It will be keep switching between different configurations. But if a Boltzmann machine is run for sufficiently a long time, then the original configuration of the machine will be forgotten, and the probability for observing a particular configuration that will be obtained by as a function of the weights and bias terms. So the some probability for observing a configuration, you can see that the probability for observing a particular configuration will be a function of its corresponding weights and bias terms. So this particular condition is called the thermal equilibrium of a Boltzmann machine, and the Boltzmann machine is supposed to reach this thermal equilibrium. Once it reaches this thermal equilibrium, then this will be able to generate the data that looks like original data or synthetic data. This is called a generative model. The training on a Boltzmann machine means finding the parameters that will make the network approximate the training set's probability distribution. So identifying that training set's probability distribution is what the meaning of training a Boltzmann machine. Actually, there is no efficient technique to train a Boltzmann machine because it will be switching between different configurations. But there are efficient algorithms on restricted Boltzmann machines, which we'll be talking next. A restricted Boltzmann machine is simply a Boltzmann machine in a Boltzmann machine there will be connection between each and every neurons to each and every other neurons in the network. But in a restricted machine, you will be dividing your uh, neurons into layers, basically like visible layer and hidden layer. This one here, a visible layer and a hidden layer here. So there is connection only between visible layer and hidden layer. There is no connection between uh, neurons. The connection between neurons and in the same layer are removed. That is what that is the restriction that is given on the RBM or restricted Boltzmann machine. So the connections are restricted here. Here the neurons are divided into two layers. One is a hidden layer, and the first one is where the input goes is called the visible layer. So visible layer and hidden layer. The connection is only between visible and hidden units. And there it is fully connection. Each neuron in the visible layer is connected to each and every neuron in the hidden layer. So that sort of a machine is called restricted Boltzmann machine. Restricted Boltzmann machines are shallow neural networks. They have two layers, visible layer and hidden layer. They are an unsupervised method used to find patterns in the data by reconstructing the input. So what it does is it receives input in the visible layer here. Then it will try to learn the probability distribution of this input data, and it will try to reconstruct the data so that it identifies the patterns that is associated in the input data. They are called restricted because neurons within the layer are not connected. So give input data, feeding the input data, the network learns its weights. Feeding an input image, the values that appear in the hidden layer can be considered as features. So it's based on the input data, we call it weights. There are here different applications for restricted Boltzmann machine. They can be dimensionality reduction, feature detection, feature extraction, collaborative filtering, etc. So it can be used for many different applications where the data is unsupervised. This is a very efficient algorithm for restricted Boltzmann machine contrastive divergence. It does not require waiting for the network to reach for equilibrium. It just goes forward, backward, and forward again. So it is such an efficient algorithm that it is more efficient than many previous algorithms which are proposed for RBM. The main advantage is that it does not require to wait for the network reach equilibrium. Next, we'll see deep belief networks, which is a stack of restricted Boltzmann machines. Several layers of RBMs are stacked to form a DBN. The hidden units of first RBM, see this is the first RBM. The hidden units of first RBM is this. These are the visible units of the first RBM. So this is visible, this is hidden. The hidden units of first RBM are serve as the visible units to the second RBM. So same data will be going to. So visible RBM once visible, RBM once hidden, RBM 2 is visible, RBM sorry, this is same as RBM 2 is visible. So this is H1 and V2. This is V1. Such an RBM stack is called a deep belief network. DBNs also learns to reproduce the probability distribution of their inputs. They are much powerful than RBM because they are actually deep neural networks, but the other one is a shallow neural network. Here we have multiple hidden layers in between, so they'll be able to learn in a deep fashion. So deep belief networks take the advantage of the hierarchical nature of the data, means that lower layers in the DBN learns the lower features of the input data, and higher as an when we go at the levels to the higher levels, higher layers, higher level data, higher level features can be learned. Fundamentally, DBNs are unsupervised in nature, but they can be trained supervised or semi-supervised. Like in this case, RBM1 or the first component of this DBN. This DBN is a stack of three RBMs, RBM1, RBM2, and RBM3. RBM1 is trained like this. You have if you feed input data here, you will get a probability distribution at the hidden layer. Then RBM2, this output of the first RBM or hidden layers of first RBM is fed as the input to the second RBM, and second RBM also is trained. So first and second RBM are trained in an unsupervised way. In the next step, you have an additional thing called input-output labels. So here the third RBM is having three inputs that is coming from the hidden layers of second RBM and three inputs which are completely outside this. So these are labeled input with labels. Input with labels means that the third RBM is trained in a semi-supervised way. Here this data is unsupervised and this is supervised. So it is trained in a semi-supervised way. So the labels will be given from here. Here data will be given without labels. So once at this level, it will learn the higher level parameters. The great benefit of this semi-supervised approach is that you don't need much label data. Means that if you have a very less amount of data in your with labels and a large amount of data without label, you can learn the lower level parameters in an unsupervised way, and when you go upwards, the higher level features can be obtained by using supervised data. If you have a full amount of label data, supervised data, the same thing can be trained using supervised in a supervised learning method also. Deviants also work in reverse. That is, if you activate one label unit, the signal will propagate up to the hidden units of RPM3. Like here, the opposite way, like you activate the label at this one unit, it will propagate the label to this hidden unit. Then the label can be propagated back, and it can reach here also. Then down to RPM2, then to RPM1, and a new instance will be output by visible units of RPM1. So that this works like just an opposite way. It will be able to generate a new instance that looks like a regular instance of the class whose label unit is activated. So this is a generative capacity of a DBN, or it's also called a generative mode. So you activate a label here, it will propagate its probability distribution here, propagate the value here, propagate, so that at this place what you're going to get is you're going to get a synthetic data that looks like your original data which is having this particular label. So that's all for unsupervised deep learning. We have seen unsupervised version of deep learning, Boltzmann machines, restricted Boltzmann machines, and a stack of Boltzmann machines called DBM. Thank you.